Well, I need to welcome you back, and we'll see with the big story for today. We're talking about the growing insecurity in the country and the need for something to be done to address them. Looking at the spate of kidnappings for ransom that seem to have characterized not just the Northwest, North Central, and Northeast, but it's now creeping deep into the South, and many are already showing that concern. Many felt with the coming of this administration, it will definitely take a total hold on the activities of banditries and kidnapping, but that seems not to be the case with recorded cases of kidnapping for ransom and banditry ravaging even the Federal Capital Territory. Many are saying what needs now to be done. Well, anyway, we're still doing it, and we'll still have our guest that is in the studio. I'll reintroduce him later. But for now, let's quickly go get the message from our sponsors. And we're talking about Banditry gas, and we'll come back. More discussion centered on a big story for today.
Oh, yeah, follow Uno Road, auto better quality. If you dey talk gas matter, oh, yeah, follow Banditry. Gas with the better quality, Banditry gas. Gas where they full rich man to Banditry gas. Home delivery, brother, na sharply. Banditry gas. For Banditry gas, no mango, Banditry gas. Get different type of gas cylinder. I mean, I got gas where go last you well out. Banditry gas. Now dogu Banditry gas service in a them they run Banditry gas make you carry go
for gas matter and home delivery. Make you wire Banditry gas plant for 080-6745-7890 and 080-5904-7722. Banditry gas plant, the etequele of gas matters.
Well, it's still the issue that matters now, when we're talking about the issue of insecurity that seems to be ravaging some part of the country. Like I said, we're still looking at it, and we still have our guests. We're talking of no other person but Mojafe Dafe, who has an MSc in intelligence and security and a BSc in criminology and also security. Let's come back to it. Before we went on the break, we looked at the government approach that seems not to be working, as much as we look at the genesis of this recent ordeal we seem to be in, and we're talking about the issue of banditry and kidnapping for ransom. And well, the approach seems not to be working, and the issue of quick intelligence gathering has always been the key in addressing such issues. But I want us to leave the government alone and rather come to the bandits themselves, because the question still remains: what seems to be the driving force that pushes these persons to continue? We have scores of them being killed and heavy casualty on their side, but why are we still having persons that aren't ready to fill in that space of those that have been killed? 30,000 bandits is cut across the Northeast, Northwest, and more are still coming in, undermining. We've had many of them being killed. So what is the driving force that these people are ready to even pay their own ultimate price, all in the need for them to get this ransom?
It's very simple. Actually, you must have heard of radicalization. When your mind has been skewed, towards a certain thing, purpose and goal, and unfortunately, I must say this, they say religion is the opium, through which you can manipulate the masses. And with truth, they have been radicalized, using religion as a bait for those of them,
But this is beyond religion. This is downright criminality.
Yeah, that's on the surface.
Okay.
On the surface is a criminal thing, but deep down, in the form of recruit. Now, another thing that has been weaponized is poverty.
Poverty.
Well, poverty has been weaponized by the elites, such a way that these people think that, apart from the religious perspective, these people think that there is no life outside crime. And I don't want to sound too terrible here. The economic aspect of crime here is something you can't even quantify. The gains that comes to them, the viability, So the econometrics around about these crimes is not something you want to play with. So it's something that, globally, crime is something people go into for economic benefits. apart from those who were born to be criminals and all that, the main intent for these criminal elements to delve into crime, especially, and look at what we are talking about, the billions that have been paid for ransom. How are you going to get that? That is even much more than agriculture itself. So these people, they've made it a way of life because of what they get from it. And that is why in developed lands they tell you, don't pay. Don't
encourage them.
Because when you pay ransom, you encourage them. If they discover that they killed 10 people today and nobody paid, it's obviously it's going to be very, very bitter, and nobody paid. They want to be discouraged. They're certainly going to be discouraged. But they've been making so much money from this venture. So it's going to be difficult for them to just turn a blind eye and walk away. And day in, day out, like I said, hunger and poverty has been weaponized such that the pawns they use, they recruit them within the village. They come and inhabit a village, and before you know, they give some people peanuts. Give these young little ones who are not educated. Just like we've been crying here that the North was just a crisis waiting to happen because of the level of,
it has now occurred.
Illiteracy that is there. Because if people are educated and enlightened, they will know their right from their left. They will understand that this is criminality, and they will understand that people will need to stay away from crime to eke out a living. But unfortunately, some person thought because they were in power, make them look like almajiris, provide for them, give them stipends, give them food, go there, you can manipulate them for political tendencies and all that. At the end of the day now, it has happened. And unfortunately, dog done the shop dog, according to the local part. So these things are happening. And so it's difficult to say you can wish it away. It has come to stay. It was waiting to happen for years. Now it has come to stay. You have not just a radicalized mindset of people, you have people who are not educated, who are illiterate, who are easily manipulated, people who are impoverished. So all these factors come together to work in favor for the would-be commanders. So they take advantage of it. And don't forget, sir, I must add this. There is an aspect of political intrigue that is involved. That is why you see people kept quiet when these things were happening. It was only a few who came back to condemn it. Now, people are being killed, and you have not, I must be very frank here, you may not like El-Rufai, but somewhere along the line, he came out to cry. He cried against Mr. President. We would not sit down quietly. He had his own role to play. He played his own role negatively. But at a point, he said, I can't take this anymore. Just like what Smart Adeyemi did in the House, in the previous Senate. He said, our names will be written. Where did you stand when these things were happening? A lot of them quite quiet because they felt like it is our people. So when criminals are your people, there's no need to talk about it. And today, who is paying for it? It's not unfortunate.
Well, unfortunate it is because according to a report by Abuja-based security firm, Beacon Consultants, a total of 4,067 persons were adopted and 9,734 were killed alone in Nigeria on account of banditry last year. And according to SB Morgan, also, just within a period of a year, we're talking about no other about July 2022 and June of 2023, about 302 million naira were paid on account of ransom. And we know it's now running into billions from that last count. But some will say, would you not also look at the trade involved in this? There's also something that is funny. Yeah, you made mention of poverty, which is a driving force. But let's look at why these might, like you said, fester for a long time. Now, it is now more of a trade. We have those that supply them with food, those that supply them with arms, those that even supply them with illicit drugs, those that are even informants, telling them which village and where to strike at and what time. And we even have prostitutes that supply them with service. So it's more like a chain. And we even have those who've had information that these are even just the boys on the ground. The top elites are the ones financing such operation with huge financial returns at the end of it. So do you also see these now as also another reason that it will not go anywhere anytime soon? Knowing that now it's now more like a chain of benefactors, those that benefit from it.
Exactly.
So hence is going to also be a difficult thing to wish away.
My career, I did mention earlier, it's difficult for these people to work in isolation. It's difficult. Now, like you did mention, the shame is multidimensional. There is no way they can work in isolation. There can't be a disconnect between them and the communities. There certainly are informants. There certainly are those who supply them with arms and ammunition. There certainly are those who supply them with basic energy wants, you know, the fuel and all that. And those like the whatever workers that go and supply them, take care of their demands and their needs, you know. But you see, basically you cannot disconnect them from the communities. That is why I said, let the security forces, don't go and mount roadblocks. Don't go and go to the highway. Come to live inside the community.
And get more information.
Plain clothes men and get more information. Because they are there. Now the community themselves will find it difficult to speak because of fear of attacks, of reprisal, because they know these people live inside. But if you come in, ordinarily, if you just come into Ughelli, just let's use Ughelli as a case study, and you feel like maybe you have like 20 women, 20 men as security operatives, that just like what they do in developed climes, is counterintelligence, we call it. You come and integrate yourself into the society and begin to generate informations, actionable informations, and these persons who are living in the community will be able to tell the operatives, or maybe probably if you are using your drones, they'll be able to lock up wherever the bandits are inhabiting, and you'll be able to exterminate them. So by now, I was thinking that we'll no longer be using, when I hear that, like for instance, the Benue incident, there was intelligence report that the bandits were coming in droves, and troops were mobilized. Troops were mobilized, and they attacked the bandits. They engaged them, and 2 soldiers were neutralized, and a member of the Nigeria Security Civil Defense Corps. Now, don't you think it's high time that we use combat drones to carry out such actions? Because when they come in their numbers. All you need to do is get their security, get a surveillance drone, see them. Once you have them locked out, then you deploy a combat drone. These are things I'm saying that it's high time we get our rules right. We'll get it right. It will be less casualty on our side. These things are done in developed climes. We see them every day. It will be difficult for you to see because
rather than putting the numbers on the ground.
Exactly, put them on the ground. The frontiers have changed. Now we're even still talking about air surveillance, air combat activities. Unfortunately, United States, for instance, the American government is no longer thinking of the air frontier, water frontiers. They are into space frontiers. The battle has been taken off
beyond
the air, beyond or whatever, and taken to space. But now, without us being in war, Nigeria is not in war. We're only having terror activities and militants and bandits activities. And we can lose 63,000 people, 111 persons under Buhari regime. And Nigeria is not at war. It calls for serious worry, my friend. It calls for serious worry.
Now talk about worry and talk about serious. There was a very serious report in the Punch newspaper this morning. A very, very serious report. And this report details how some commercial banks are also encouraging the kidnapping epidemic in the country, as some ransoms are also being paid into the bank account, which now forces me to ask, don't we have regulators that should help to deal with this? I thought we had BVN, I thought we had NIN, all in a bid for us to deal with these issues of insecurity. And here we are, not even close to putting a lead on it. And we're now having some commercial banks having accounts that these ransoms are being paid for. Like the fundraiser they did that was used or naturally being used to deal with the issue of the Nabia sisters. It was a bank account. And it was even as much as a bank account. It was also to be transferred into a bank account. So the question still, it really baffles a whole lot of Nigeria. I read a detailed report of this Punch report this morning. Early hours of 5, I was going through it and I was like, wow, this is quite mind-blowing. So why can't we also put more as it concerns those intelligence, deal with these erring banks and see how we can stop these, our commercial banks that are already stressed on account of financial improprieties to deal with the issues of now being used to pay ransoms to kidnappers and bandits.
Have you forgotten you did mention there is business aspect of it? There's a trade business out of it. Part of it. Have you forgotten who stands to benefit when ransoms are paid? People can pay 5 million and claim to pay 10 million. Have you thought about that? Now, let's look at it this way. Issa Patani, he came out recently to say he feels very bad that after all the resources put together
for the NIN,
that it is yet to be put in use. It all boils down to leadership failure.
And he was also one of the persons
for the
Go Fund
for Nabia. This is what it tells you, the kind of people we have at the helm of affairs. So we keep on kind, and unfortunately, we have ourselves to blame because we voted them into power. So when these things are happening, the average Nigerian, I only hear them talk, and I just look at it, okay. And these kind of things are happening. It is enough for us down south here to begin to get strategic
in our approach.
Because there are indices on ground already. I don't want to go into that. I didn't want to go into that. There are indices on ground already that the South is another time bomb waiting to happen. Give it 5-10 years. Just like people were crying in the North, about the North, that, because of the level of illiteracy, because of the fact that these people are laid about, that is not is a crisis waiting to happen. Same thing is happening in the South here. Southeast. The Southeast is already getting their own fair share. But South here. And the governors and governments in charge of these various states are just sitting idle. They think that is just normal uhuru. And they will not even get those who know what it takes to get them. Let's get a meeting. Let's get strategic. Let's strategize in future when this happens, because it will eventually happen. What do we do? Or probably they don't even see it as a problem.
Which is a problem.
Which is a very big problem. It's a big problem.
Them not seeing it
as I tell you, people who have an idea, a futuristic idea about it, are thinking of how to, to have second abode outside within this region. And unfortunately, Delta State is one of the most prone states. So we need to be up and doing. We need to go back to the basis. We need to think of how to handle this menace. It's everywhere. The level of insecurity is everywhere.
Okay, well, yeah, like a few of the commercial banks are into gain. Let's come to our approach, because that's also what you said. If you look at what's going on, many security experts will argue our style of approach, especially as it concerns the military. And they are now beginning to look at this as if it's guerrilla warfare, when there's always a hit and run. And it's always being said that guerrilla warfare is one of the most difficult warfare to deal with, especially as our armed forces are being trained for regular warfare. And one person that will always also, and a clear example of guerrilla warfare that is always so difficult, is even what's happening between the IDF in Gaza and Hamas. Hit and run. And that's also what seems to be happening. So do you feel we need a totally new approach as it concerns our military engaging these persons on account of it?
Now, you see, you just mentioned Gaza and Hamas. And
IDF
and Hamas. You see, it's a funny thing. What can you say about Hamas now? They are seriously under stress. As I talk to you, the Israeli government, because in crisis, there are bound to be fatalities.
Of course.
Whether you like it or not, you see, these are necessary, when you have a set goal. What Benjamin Netanyahu is doing is to make sure that, okay, let's see whatever it is. Let's bring Hamas to his knees, if not totally wiped out. And as I talk to you now, they are out. They are ready to come and negotiate. Let's see what we can do and all that, That is because they were brought to their knees. Various means were deployed. What have we done? I keep on saying, not just summoning the chief of staff.
Or giving them directives.
No, that is way out of it. Call a crucial meeting. Let's be strategic for once. An operational meeting. Let's get... God, there are people who knows.
But this is beyond regular warfare.
Certainly it's not irregular warfare. But what I'm saying is that, look at the minute percentage of those who are holding this country to ransom. My friend, we have a military force of over 370,000 persons.
Yeah.
For instance, those within the boundaries of that area we're talking about, probably maybe even be less than 50,000.
Yeah.
As against,
Yeah.
So we have state funds
to our disposal.
At our disposal. With the numerical strength, equipment and all that. So you have to imagine, no matter the kind of guerrilla warfare, there are things we can do to put all that, to arrest all that. Unfortunately, we should stop sacrificing our policemen. I call it sacrifice because you don't equip them, you don't put them you don't give them the necessary training, you don't give them the necessary equipment, and you put them in it's, to me, it's sacrificial. You are sacrificing them. So until those who are saddled with the responsibility of leading this nation do the needful, we won't get it right. And I tell you something. I tell you something sincerely here. We need to do vetting on our security agencies.
Vetting?
Yes.
Double check?
Double check them. Because there's a high level of sabotage.
And conspiracy.
And conspiracy. So we need to do that. And that means a new security agency has to spring up. The police of the police. These are things I'm talking about being strategic here now. So that we can fish out the elements who are, because...
Also informants.
Who are informants to this criminal element. Because they make so much money from it.
Well, anyway, it's all about the Benjamin, just like the Americans will say. But anyway, we do not have a greenback. But what I know we're getting green light that we need to go on a break now. And when we come back, we'll continue our discussion centered on the growing insecurity and what approach needs now to be taken to deal with it. Let's go on a break.